Wow. Welcome, everybody. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Reverend Dr. Bob Deen, otherwise known as Bobby to my family at home, and Bob around here, and Robert when I'm in trouble. So glad to be back here. Happy to be here to be part of this wonderful expression. Our practitioner's back. I didn't know you were going to be here. Oh, wonderful. Yay. Well, here. I'll put you to work later, maybe. We'll see. You know, that's why, anyway, we all love to when we're practitioners, we love to practice. So we'll maybe see about that for later on. Title of today's talk is How to Catch a Vision. Well, before we get to that, I have another question. How do you catch an individual rabbit? You sneak up on him. Yeah. How do you catch a domesticated rabbit? Tame way. These were bad the first time I told them. Okay. Yeah, well, that might help. The point, though, that I want to say is that the catching a vision is a lot like catching a rabbit. You've got to be in the vicinity of the rabbit to catch it. You've got to put yourself in a place where there might be one. You know, getting in a boat and going out in the middle of a lake somewhere to catch a rabbit is not going to get you a rabbit. It's going to get you a whole lot of wasted time. But, so if you want to catch something, you've got to get into the vicinity of where it is. And then you've also got to believe that you can catch it. I do not believe I can catch a rabbit with my bare hands, so it ain't going to happen. I can sit next to a rabbit den forever and not reach for it because I don't believe I'll catch it. My dad used to say they would sit by the rabbit dens when he was a kid in the 30s and snatch them out of the den by their ears, and they'd go blind because of the bright light for a little while. They'd put them down and watch them run around and bump into each other. Now, I don't know if that happened. And all of you out there listening who are about animal cruelty, this was in the 30s. It's long past. I've never done it, so forgive me for that. Do not want to recommend it. I don't think many people could actually catch a rabbit, but we'll see. But so to catch a vision, you got to be in the right place. You've got to be in a place where, in your thought, in your consciousness, you're open and receptive. You've got to be in a place where you're not thinking about anything else, and you've set aside all of your preconceived notions. That's hard sometimes. And then you got to be open and listen. It's kind of amazing that first time I walked to a Science and Mind Center, I wasn't sure I wanted to be there. I had been in another religious group, as I've talked about before. I was a good Baptist minister for a long time. I say good because I did the best I could. But when I started my first education in that world, my theological education down the road here at Southern Baptist Seminary in Louisville, I learned some things from my favorite professor, Frank Stagg, who was a New Testament professor. And he said, you know, if you want to understand your Bible, he taught New Testament. He said, by the time the year's up and we've been through the whole New Testament, what I want you to do is start writing down what are the parts of that, what are the phrases, what are the words that you actually believe, and then test them. Because the only Bible that matters to you is the Bible you believe in. I mean, we could talk. Thank you for the reading, for the way you read it. It's a little heady, but oh my God, it's the truth. We are today the result of our thoughts in the past. So we have to decide how much of that do you believe. Some of it will be true whether you believe it or not. Whether you're able to use it or not will have to do with how you believe in it. So by the end of that year, I had a very small Bible. There was a lot of things I had to leave out. I kept the one about it's done unto you as you believe, and I kept the ones about Jesus because I thought that he had to be a pretty good character. But a lot of other things I let go at the time. And as I grew in that ministry, my Bible got smaller and smaller instead of bigger and bigger. Until I reached a point where about the only thing I had left was a belief that religion and spirituality was a philosophical idea and a psychological idea that helped us get through life. And that's all it was. It had no objective reality whatsoever. And Baptists say, you send your kids to seminary and it'll ruin them. Well, it did in that respect, because I just couldn't believe all that other stuff anymore. And so I had dropped it all completely. And it was at a point where nothing was working very well in my life, and I wasn't a happy camper at all. And I finally jumped into a 12-step program. And my sponsors said after about a year, you got to go find a church in addition to this program. And I'm like, no, I don't. I've done that already. Forget that stuff. Yeah, you do if you want me to keep working with you. So finally I said, okay, I'll go. And one of my friends said, well, there's this weird church downtown, so like anything you've ever been to before. They don't sing except maybe one song, and the minister doesn't talk about hell and damnation and sin. And it's just a very different kind of thing. And there are a bunch of people like you that are there. So I'm like, okay. So I went, walked in the first time, and the first thing I heard was, such is the nature of life, that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. And you're that opportunity. And so am I, and so it is. Whew, I still feel it today. I heard him say that at the beginning of every service for many, many years, and I still use it a lot because that's what it's about. It's about life wanting to show up, and I'm it, and you're it. Kind of messed up my plans of being miserable and a victim. And it even took away those names I had put on all that stuff that I didn't like. Because he said, you got to show up as something. So you're showing up as a mess. Okay. You do a really good job of making a mess. Which means when you learn how to use this teaching, you're going to do a good job of making an unmess. I didn't know that yet. And I really felt like I'd had enough of that hard stuff. One of the beautiful things that Michael Beckwith has said, and he's getting credit for it. I don't know who said it first. Maybe he did. That your pain, your hurt, pushes you until your vision pulls you. Our pain pushes us. Think about that. You do all you can to try to cure yourself and get away from it or hurt. And people use addictions, and people use meditation, and all kinds of other wonderful things too, trying to alleviate the pain. And yet it's the vision that finally captures us and pulls us forward. And that's what we're talking about today. You guys have been through some pain in this community. You've been through some hurt. I don't go back there. We don't need to go back there. It's done. That has pushed you forward to where we are today. And today we're going to work with capturing the vision and catching that vision to move us forward. It's a beautiful thing. See, I also heard things like, you are not your problem. You're much more than your problems. There's more to you. I know, that came out backwards. There's much more to you than what you have been up until now. You're not the sum total of your history. You're much more than that. Wow, that was kind of cool. And then I heard this thing about you're an expression of God. In fact, you're God individualized, which is a real heady idea, and I had no idea what it meant to start with. But as I worked with it a while, I began to realize that we're like the tapioca lumps in the tapioca pudding. If you think about this infinite source, this infinite power is a great big vat of tapioca. We're the lumps in the tapioca. We're the concentrated versions of consciousness coming into shape and form in physical form in order to experience this amazing world we live in. And yet we're never separate or apart from the tapioca. You're the drop in the ocean, but you're the drop in the ocean that stays in the ocean. Not the drop pulled out to, oh, look, it's a drop. No, you're in it. So you are it. You're the whole thing. You're the whole consciousness. The divine is what you are and who you are. And that reading says it so beautifully. I heard that, and I started to perk up a little more. And then I found out about this thing called spiritual mind treatment. Well, I'd been to prayer meeting for years, and so I knew that, I ain't good at that, until I understood it a little better. And so I wrote a treatment with the help of a little pamphlet by Reverend Charles Barker. And it worked. Within 6 weeks, I could breathe through my nose without medicine. First time in my life. It's like, wow, this stuff works. I guess I have to stick around to learn more about it. So I started drawing closer and closer to that vision. It was still about alleviating the pain and getting away from the pain, but I began to move more and more towards the vision. Yeah. Huh. Then I heard you can change your life like that by changing your mind. Well, that's an easier thing than I thought it would be, because I had a lot of old Baptist negativity in there that took a while to get cleared out. And thank you, all you wonderful, loving Baptists. I'm not picking on you. Don't mean to. It's just by story. So I began to get clearer and clearer that in this teaching, which is an ancient teaching, goes back to the Greeks and probably older than that. It's Greek idealism, but in new thought, in a new way, in a new form. I learned this, that we don't get what we want in this teaching. You know? I wish we did. We get what we believe we deserve. That was one of the things that my teacher kept hammering at us all the time. This is not a get-rich-quick teaching, unless you believe you deserve that and can put it to work. This is not a get-something-for-nothing teaching. You can't get something for nothing, because what you've got to give for that getting is building the consciousness of receiving. You got to be involved in it. It doesn't just show up magically. We get what we believe we desire and deserve. Not desire, deserve. Huh. So I've just started doing a whole lot of rewriting of my Bible at that point, and started creating a whole new idea of what truth and reality really was about. And I started to catch a vision of what I could become. And I started to remember, and I'm not telling you this to say, yay, Bob. I'm telling you this because I hope it triggers some things in you, and you can see some things in your life that are going, oh, yeah, that's right. That's what happened. Or, oh, no, that's not what happened to me. What's wrong with you? You know, whatever it does. Yeah. That we can begin to catch a vision. When I was that little kid back in the swamp in North Florida, my parents, I've told this before, bought a really, really struggled to buy a encyclopedia set, World Book Encyclopedia. They bought the cheap version because that's what they could do, but it was a rich thing for me, and it had about 6 pictures in the whole thing that were in color. Everything else was black and white. That was why it was cheaper. But one of those pictures was a picture of the scene looking down on Machu Picchu. And when I first saw that thing, I still get cold chills thinking about it. It was like, there are places like this in the world? Everything's not just a flat swamp? Wow. And we didn't have TV. I didn't have TV in those days, and we didn't have everything that kids have today to know how the world looks and what goes on. That was just a mind blower for me. But I never imagined I would ever be able to go there, but I did feel this pull, this like excitement. Well, I've been there many times now, and it's still as magical to go back there as it was the first time, except there are a lot more people now. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing, and it was the fulfillment of a vision that I didn't know I had caught. I certainly didn't know to call it a vision. All I knew was I got really excited when I looked at that picture. That's what we're talking about, catching a vision. You catch it, Sometimes before you even realize you've caught it. And sometimes other people realize you've caught it before you do. Things happen in your life where you're still struggling with how to a decision about this or that, and everybody around you knows you've already made up your mind what the decision is. They're just waiting for you to catch up. Anybody have that? Just me? Okay. All right. So we begin to get to this idea that when we listen, the more we think about this, we're getting closer to that place where you catch the rabbit, that place where you're sitting there by the hole waiting for something to show up. And the biggest place I've experienced catching the vision has been between my thoughts. Not in a thought, between the thoughts. When I looked at that picture, my mind stopped. When I heard my grandson was born back on the East Coast, or was about to be born, and I was doing ministry on the West Coast, my heart went flutter, flutter, and everybody in the congregation knew I was moving before I did. Because it was between thoughts, where you catch the vision of what's coming for you and what's next and what you're being pulled to and what you're being drawn to. So part of our job in sitting next to the rabbit hole, the vision, where the vision is coming from, is to stop our thoughts. And we do that in meditation all the time. Breathe in, breathe out, pause. And there's a moment there where it goes quiet. Your mind will stop if you allow it. Doesn't stop often. Some of our minds seem to never stop, but sometimes the stop is very short. But it will pause. And in that pause, you can either drop in an idea to see it manifest, or you can listen. And when you listen, you hear what is above the thought and beyond the thought. You hear from the divine itself. It's right here for you right now. Oh, we're good. Okay. Sometimes that vision will show up as a flash, like some things have done for me. Sometimes it will open up in a collective, like I was describing with my grandson in the move back east. Yeah. Sometimes it will only have a part of it. And that's the power of collective visioning. Because when we all go sit around the rabbit hole, sit around listening for that vision that's going to come, we only get one part or another of it, perhaps. You all know the old story, the old Indian stories of the blind men being introduced to an elephant. One guy says, oh, it's a tree trunk. And somebody else says, oh, no, it's a snake. And somebody else says, oh, it's a great big leaf. Because whatever part they were touching was the part that they got. What they did in that story, though, which we aren't going to do, is they started arguing about which one was right. Not any of that happened in the world today, right? What if all of us are getting a part of the vision, and if we could just share and be open to expressing and speaking and listening to each other, we start to hear the whole vision. We start to see the whole vision. We start to get the whole picture of an elephant or a vision or whatever it is. What a wonderful world, huh? I'm ready for that world. We have that world here in this community, in this idea. So collective visioning is one of the basic practices of science of mind. It's a core of our teaching, not only collectively, but individually. And the power of the collective is, it's different. Some of you come in here early for meditation. This morning was really powerful at meditation because we were all here together sinking into the same place. And for me, it accentuates. Sometimes I need to be by myself, but more often than not, I get a lot more from the collective by us being together to do this. So each one catching our own parts. Now, we have a lot of other basic practices in this teaching. We have spiritual mind treatment, which is affirmative prayer, some people call it. It's not asking God to fix anything. It's asking us to align our consciousness with that infinite power so we are more fully expressing who we are. We're not trying to manipulate anything except our own minds to go quiet, to learn. So today we're going to do that. After the service, we're going to take a break. There's some food out there, and we're going to come back in here for a workshop. And we're going to do a visioning process, which will start by us getting quiet and by a connecting in consciousness to the infinite power that we all know we are. Now, how do we do that? By declaration. When I was in Peru, I learned a lot of magical stuff from or what looked like magic, from one of the shaman that took us around, Kero. He said it's just a matter of intention and willingness. Anybody could do these things that I'm teaching you. You just have to have the willingness and intention. So I learned to feel the energies of the mountains. I learned to let a rock up in front of me on a trail create a bond and pull me up that trail when my body didn't want to go anymore. I learned to do that in a group, putting the weakest person in the front and the rest of us behind, pulling the heavy energy out of people so they could be lighter and could keep walking. And we walked and climbed places with people who were totally out of shape to do it that I never would have imagined we could do. Because there's so much more about our universe than what we know. And so we have to collectively get into that place where we are working together as a collective. And we'll do that this afternoon. And then once the mind is quiet, we simply ask questions and listen. And trust whatever weird thing might come up, or whatever really nice, normal thing might come up. And then we're going to share all of that, and then we're going to condense it and come to agreement about 6 things, about 6 traits or qualities of your new minister. Because, see, your new ministry is going to be a match for you. Now, that's a little scary if you're still carrying around a lot of stuff. So that's why we need to keep looking to the past as the past and let it go. Because we want to match up with this potential. We want to match up with this vision of where Ahava could go and could be. We had a meeting Wednesday night with your core council that was mind-blowing. People came in there not sure what was going to happen, but by the time it was over, we were a unified field of love and energy and information. And we did it by telling each other the truth and listening. Do you know how few places there are in the world where that could happen? That's why this place is so important. It's a place where we can speak our truth. We can be loved. We can recognize when our truth may not be the truth because we're loved enough to see it that way. And then we can grow this place. Because the more you are that, the more you're going to be light to bring people come walk in the door and they go, oh, I feel something here. Ooh, what is that? And they want to stick around and find out more about it. So visioning is this opportunity for us to do that. It's couched in our individual Bibles. They provide a lot of the information to us. Whatever your Bible is, however many pieces you have of something that you know you absolutely believe in. You got to believe in the vision and the visioning. We also have to set aside stuff, our hurt, our pain. You know, if you're going to sit next to a rabbit's den and try to catch him by the ears, you got to, or any other part, you got to be still long enough that it might start to hurt a little bit. You may have to let that just go and ignore it in order to reach for the good that you have. There's a new you, a new Ahava. It's as close as your next thought, as close as your next idea. Do you believe you deserve it? Yeah, and you can answer out loud, but answer it here. That's what counts. Do you believe you personally deserve to be part of that kind of community? And you deserve collectively, do you believe that collectively we deserve to have the good that we describe? Because that's what will manifest it. So join me, if you will, in a closing treatment meditation, not closing the service, but closing my part. Deep breath, let it go, settle into your seat. Another deep breath and let it go. And do a little quick inventory. Don't hold on to any of this, but just a quick inventory of your mind. Are there any things that you believe are holding you back, or holding back this center from its highest and greatest good? Just notice it. Don't have to do anything with it. Just notice it. And as you breathe, simply let whatever that is, whatever those things are, drift away on your breath. And this would be true for your own personal life as well. Yeah. And maybe it's a big sigh, maybe it's a little poof, but let it go. Ernest Holmes said sometimes we must deny before we can treat. So we deny any power to those ideas, to those limiting thoughts, to that history, to that past, to that stuff hanging in our minds, to the knots that might be there. K-N-O-T-S or N-O-T-S. And instead we step fully into the awareness that we are immersed in an infinite intelligence, that its qualities are love, creativity, light, life, beauty, joy, peace. And all of the qualities of that infinite that I can imagine are also me. I'm in it. Therefore, I am it. So I recognize that, and I step willingly into the awareness that as an expression of the divine with the power to create, I choose now to create a greater life for myself, for my community, and for my world. I open my heart and mind to the vision of what that might be. I don't have to know it. I just have to be willing to take the first step of being awake to it. And so as I step through that doorway and into this new beginning, I do it with ease. I do it with joy. I do it with a great sense of anticipation and gratitude. Gratitude that I live in a universe that works this way. Gratitude for who we are as individuals and who we are as a collective. Gratitude that the power of life is running through each and every one of us right here, right now, and will continue forever and ever. And so I simply direct it, like pointing a hose of goodness in the direction I choose to go. And I listen for the guidance of where and how to do that. And so it is with ease, with grace, with joy, with excitement, and with huge gratitude that I can release this now, knowing it is begun, nothing is ended. I let it be, and so it is. Thank you.